Welcome to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. Today, we'll show you how to use the spirit of love and self-worth to improve the connections with everyone else in your life. This program is your weekly gift, and it will keep on giving. You'll see. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jean Marie Farish.
Greetings and a hearty welcome, everyone. I hope you're all faring well. I'm Dr. Jean Marie, your Love Light host, coming to you, shining love light into your hearts and homes to uplift, inspire, and empower you to create a life you love. Our show, How Emotions Impact Your Health, with Dr. Diericx joining us today from Madrid, Spain, will help us gain knowledge to become more consciously aware of how we are reacting and being with ourselves that impact our health and well-being. As quoted by Thomas Wolfe, the human mind is a fearful instrument of adaptation, and in nothing is this more clearly shown than in its mysterious powers of resilience, self-protection, and self-healing. Hippocrates quotes, "Natural forces within us are true healers of disease." So how do our emotions impact our health? How can we consciously connect with our essential being of love, wisdom, and power that is instrumental to our healing? How can we master our emotions to support well-being and healing? Dr. Diericx, our outstanding guest today, is an award-winning, best-selling author who is highly proactive in understanding the workings of the deep mind and is featured in the documentary film Facing Fear. A hypnotherapist, energy therapist, alternative health facilitator, founder of Consciousness and Evolution, Millie is the author of The Concio Method, Heal, Expand, Evolve, and Befriending the Wolf, The Guide to Living and Thriving with Lupus. She's a true testimony that healing from within is possible, healing herself from the debilitating illness of lupus when traditional medicine offered no cure, tapping into a higher level of consciousness and healing modalities that brought her back into homeostasis. Dr. Millie earned the PhD in thanatology, master's in Erickson psychology. She brings her unique method into the world through her books, courses, retreats, and conferences, and through her signature program, Healing from Within. She helps people shift their consciousness to survive turmoil and adversity and manifest the higher sense of consciousness for a truly authentic life. So now I am honored to welcome to our show today Dr. Diericx on how emotions impact your health. Millie, welcome to Love Light.
Thank you so much for having me, Jean. It's always a pleasure speaking to you.
Oh, it is indeed. And I've been looking forward to this show. Millie, can you just share with our audience of listeners briefly about your journey that inspired your passion and your mission?
I can. I was diagnosed with lupus 24 years ago when my second son was born, and I had a massive, massive attack that almost killed me. Literally, I went to the doctor after a week of this virulent attack, and he said, "You have 2 days to live. There's nothing else to do." And I got given massive amounts of prednisone and massive amounts of immunosuppressants to try and stop the attack. Fortunately, it did, but still, the prognosis was that I would have to be in a room darkened because even artificial light was painful for me on my skin. I couldn't tolerate it. I couldn't be among people because they would infect me and I was on immunosuppressants. And I was swollen completely out of proportion. The prognosis was that my kidneys were going to fail very soon and that it was just buying me time, basically. So after about 6 months of being in this darkened room alone, I started to think that this was absolutely no way to live. And I made a choice. I made a choice that I would either get better or die trying. That was basically my choice, because this was like being dead already. It was worse than being dead, because it was just spending resources and being a draining force on my husband and the family finances, and my kids couldn't even be with me. So to have a mom in a darkened room was, I think, worse than having no mom at all. Or at least that was my thinking at the moment. So anyway, I took this decision and I started searching and searching and searching high and low for anything that could help me at all. And I tried absolutely every remedy out there. But I didn't actually get really on top of the situation until I started looking at my emotions. Because what I found out is that all autoimmune diseases are because we are highly sensitive people. Highly sensitive people are the ones that tend to get autoimmune diseases. And that's from allergies to intolerances to arthritis to diabetes to everything that is an illness that comes from inside the body. So when I found this out and I started to heal my emotions and heal all that sensitive part of myself, was when I could really get on top of the situation. And I'm very proud to say that for 15 years, I haven't had another attack. I haven't had one medicine to deal with this, and I live a perfectly normal life. And that's a lot to say, I think, for a debilitating autoimmune disease.
It is. That's an amazing story about your healing journey, and I'm sure it gives, what can I say, more insight and hope for those who are dealing with chronic illnesses and suffering. So, Millie, many people are suffering from grief, and I know you're going to talk a lot about the emotions that we experience, but we know that many are dealing with unspeakable losses from fires, natural disasters, loss of loved ones, health, and grief triggers a plethora of emotions: anger, sadness, depression. And I know we're going to talk more about this, but do you have any insight to offer before we get into our conversation about healing and managing these emotions?
Well, I have to tell you that grief is one of the deepest emotions we are capable of as human beings. And that grief, the extent of human grief, comes from our ability to give meaning to things. So for us, if it's our phone, our pet, our house, it has a lot more meaning than just the monetary or the physical presence of that object, because we attribute meaning to them. That's why human grief can be so deep, and it can lead to depression. And depression is one of the most difficult states to get out of, because what happens is that meaning that you gave to that object or financial situation or social status or person that you lost takes away many times your whole meaning in life. I don't know if you have seen like people, for example, when markets crash like they're doing now, and some people that only deal in markets sometimes take even their own lives because all the meaning of their life has been drained with the market loss. Or when people have huge financial losses, they think or they feel that their life is not worth anything anymore. That's because of the meaning we attach to things. So yes, grief is one of the most difficult spaces that we can be in as human beings. And that space, we have to go through the grief process and refine or redefine our purpose in life. If we do not find another purpose, we will be depressed. And that's what people need to know, that those things are not their lives, that their lives have meaning in themselves. Even if they lost somebody that was really close to them, that they lost, still, life has meaning in itself, and everybody can find new meaning in life.
I love that. And I really appreciate you sharing the whole aspect about meaning, because even when we look at the loss of a home or whatever, people think about the material object, but you're attaching, the meaning associated with that. So thank you for that clarification. It helps us look at things from a different vantage point. And talk further about the emotions, how it affects our health and the chemicals of emotions.
Well, emotions are part of being human. They're the salt and pepper in life. So they're not the enemy. And we all have them. We all experience all the range of emotions. There are some people that say, oh, I never get angry. That's not true. You do get angry, but you tend to repress that anger. And that's the problem with emotions. Since we're not taught how to deal with them, we tend to repress them. And then they're just stuck in the system, like in a loop, like a hamster on a wheel. We're just like regurgitating that emotion over and over. And that scenario that we didn't resolve in our minds, and creating catastrophic scenarios with our incredible gift that's called imagination. So we're using it to rehash that old argument or that old feeling and bringing it up and up because we haven't resolved it. So what we have to do is deal with the emotions as they come up without fear of them. They're not the enemy. They're not going to bite us. Nothing is going to happen to us if we let ourselves feel whatever we're feeling. And also when I was sick, I had a period in those 6 months that I was really sick and in bed that I couldn't feel. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel pain. I felt physical pain, but I didn't feel emotional pain. I didn't feel joy. I couldn't feel anything. And that was even worse than the physical illness, than the physical pain. Being unable to feel is like being buried alive. So emotions are the salt and pepper of life. It's what gives it that engagement. We can engage with others and with life through our feelings. And emotions talk about what we're doing and what's going on in our lives. If we feel joyful, everything's beautiful and fine. If we feel love, we are so happy. But if we feel anger or sadness or stress, something in our life is not going according to plan. So we have to look at that emotion and what it's telling us about our lives and about what we're doing with our lives.
I love that clarification. And I have this question that came up about coping, how, many are taught, okay, it happened, get up, brush yourself off, start moving forward. And not dealing with feelings is kind of a way of coping. What's your thought about that? Because it's like if I just pretend and get on with it, and just start being active and doing something, then, maybe this will go away. So as a coping mechanism, what's your thought?
Well, the thing is, yes, it's useful when the shock is too big. Like, for example, the first stage of grief, according to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, is denial. And denial helps us deal with the situation as it is, because we don't have to look at it so fast, so we can sort of start going into it little by little. And the second stage of grief is anger, because after we accept that loss happened, then we can get angry and then we can do something about it. And then we can actually deal with the situation. But anger is a very useful emotion, actually, because it gives us the energy to do something about it. Because sadness leads to depression, and depression leads to not being able to do anything about it. You just want to go to bed and never get up again when you're depressed. But anger gives you that injection of energy that you need to change a situation, to do something about it. So that's why anger is a second stage. After the shock of the loss, you need to get angry to be able to get out of bed and do something about it, solve the immediate situation. And then you can go into sadness and actually cry for the loss. If you realize the loss immediately, you would be completely paralyzed from the grief. It would be just too heavy for you, and you wouldn't be able to cope. So these coping mechanisms of the mind are incredibly useful. but you cannot deny them. You have to go through all the stages. It's like a tunnel you have to go through. You cannot skip kilometer 1 and 5. You have to go through the whole tunnel in order to be able to come out on the other side, more or less in one piece.
Yes, we have to go
Does that
through
make
it.
any sense?
Yes, it does. It does. And this is so interesting because you're really talking about kind of the purpose of emotions, but more so, and in our next segment, we'll talk more about how these emotions or manifest as symptoms and illnesses, and maybe some strategies that we can use to really manage our emotions. So right now, I think we're ready for a brief commercial break. So listeners, stay tuned for more on this uplifting and inspirational show, How Emotions Impact Your Health, with Dr. Millie Diericx. She's an energy therapist, alternative healing facilitator, hypnotherapist, founder of Consciousness and Evolution, and author of the Conchio Method. Stay tuned. We'll return shortly.
Announcing Dr. Jean Marie Farish's new book, Love Mastery Devotion Journal, 21-day weekly prompts and affirmations. This is the companion piece to Dr. Farish's best-selling book, Living in the Spirit of Love, Our Natural State of Being. Through the new book, we invite you to cultivate a lifestyle of love through daily devotional practices over a 21-day period, following 9 ingredients in the recipe of love. Love Mastery Devotion Journal, 21-day weekly prompts and affirmations, is available on Amazon.com and Balboa Press.
Jean Marie Farish's Center for Conscious Loving, LLC, cultivates a lifestyle of love and wholehearted connections through personal growth, altruistic services, and speaking engagements. Resources include classes, workshops, life care coaching, and creative service projects with an emphasis on cultural arts. Visit the website at drjeanmariefarish-consciousloving.com. That's Jean Marie Farish-consciousloving.com, or click the link on the Love Light show page.
Best-selling authors international, news honors best-selling authors around the globe. Dr. Jean Marie Farish is featured in the newly released issue of Published magazine. To have first access to this treasured resource, go to publishedmagazine.com. Vicki Winterton and Dr. Jean Marie Farish have compiled a dynamic book, We're All in This Together, Embrace One Another, an anthology with 24 highly diverse co-authors who share how to spread the message of love, resilience, inclusivity, and compassion. This book is an invaluable source of uplifting, inspiring, and positive insights for spreading positivity in the world. We're All in This Together, Embrace One Another is available on Amazon.com. Be sure to get your copy today. Follow Voice America at Facebook.com/Voice America for juicy updates from your favorite radio shows and podcasts.
You are tuned in to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. Feel free to connect with our program through email or check out our links on Facebook. Reach Jean at Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. That's Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. And now, back to Love Light.
Welcome back to Love Light, Living in the Spirit of Love. If you're just joining us, we are with our outstanding guest today, Dr. Millie Diericx. She's an energy therapist, alternative healing facilitator, hypnotherapist, founder of Consciousness and Evolution, and author of the Conchio Method. On our show today, How Emotions Impact Your Health. And Millie, thank you for the clarification on how we associate meaning with loss, and looking at the stages of dealing with grief. How can you really talk about how illnesses manifest and cause symptoms? Well, how it turns into illness is what I'm saying. And then we can look at some strategies. So just kind of explain to us, how does that operate with these symptoms and illness based on our emotions?
Well, the primary emotion that every living organism has is fear. Fear lets us survive. Fear is the survival mechanism by default. It's every single, from the unicellular organisms to plants to everything that's alive, experiences fear in some form to survive. So that's our mechanism of survival. And all the other negative emotions stem from fear. For example, you first get fear, and the first idea of fear, the first thing that you do with fear is run away. That's the first mechanism of fear. Get out of danger. And the second one is fight. When you can't run, you fight. Mm-hmm. And that fight needs the anger. So fear becomes anger when the fighting mechanism comes online. And what happens here is that our body injects us, or our brain tells our body to produce cortisol and adrenaline. These are the stress and the fear hormones, because we need energy in our limbs and our muscles to run or fight. But as we need the energy in the limbs to run or fight, that energy gets taken away from the metabolic functions of the organs and the cells. So what cells do is they shut down their receptors, they stop engaging in food procession, they stop their metabolic, or they slow down their metabolic processes, and all the energy goes to the limbs. And also the immune system gets pulled down to its bare minimum, because think about it, if a lion is coming to eat you, the bacteria that's brewing in your foot is the least important of your problems. If you get eaten by the lion, then the bacteria is the lion's problem, not yours anymore. So what happens there is that the immune system gets slowed down, all the metabolic processes get slowed down, and all the energy is sent to the muscles. But the muscles, in this day and age, you don't really fight off fear, which becomes chronic stress, because you have it in your body and it's sort of going round and round and round, and it's not really, there is no lion coming. So this threat, this imminent threat that we feel, which is stress, never comes to pass. So we never fight it off, and we're never able to run away from it. So what happens is our body's always trying to be ready for this fight or flight that never happens, but all our metabolic functions are slowed down, which in time becomes gastric problems, high blood pressure, tension in all the body, pains and aches in all the muscles and the joints, because they're always tense and prepared to fight, and a greater susceptibility to all viruses, bacteria, and fungi out there, because our immune system is depressed, because we need this for the stress reaction, for the fight or flight. That's why unprocessed emotions and chronic stress turn into illness so easily, because we're taking all the energy away from the organs. We're not letting them do their jobs. And we're putting everything in this attempt to fight or flee from a situation that's not fightable and not fleeable. For example, work. You can't flee from, well, you could, but you would be poor then. You wouldn't be able to feed yourself. So you can't really run away from that thing that stresses you. You have to face up to it again and again and again. So that threat never leaves. So the cortisol and adrenaline in your system keep getting pumped all the time, and you're always in this alert mode, in this danger's coming, I'm feeling my heart's beating fast, I'm breathing fast, my metabolic functions are completely at rest. And this is what leads to illness. It's this unresolved emotion. It's not the emotion per se. To get a rush of adrenaline is fine if you let it go. Mm-hmm. So what I tell people is that emotions are like waves. If you ever been on the beach, you see the wave coming. It comes with a lot of strength. It does a lot of noise as it crashes, and then it recedes. Mm. Emotions are exactly the same. If you let yourself feel the emotion, you name it, you feel it, you let it come and crash, you express it in some way, preferably in a way that doesn't hurt anybody, it will recede by itself. Actually, biological emotions last only 3 minutes in the body until all those chemicals are reabsorbed. If you don't feed it with your mind. But when the mind gets involved and you start rehashing that argument or going over that same situation and you're imagining and giving your mind fuel, your mind keeps triggering these emotions and triggering these chemicals. And the whole of your body is receiving all these chemicals because your cells have receptors for these chemicals, because your whole body needs to know what's going on. Because if not, if your feet don't get the message, they won't be ready to run. So every single one of your cells is feeling the emotion you're feeling all the time until you stop feeding the emotion. So what you have to do is feel the emotion, let it come and crash, name it, make room for it, and then let it recede. And if you need to express it in a way that doesn't hurt anybody. If you're really sad, you can cry. It's only water. It won't hurt you. Nothing will happen, and it does clean the soul. And if you're really angry, anger is the fight. Remember we were talking about the fight in you? It's this instinct to fight. So it needs to hit something, destroy something. So get a cushion. Go to the gym. Pump the boxing thingamy. Do whatever that doesn't hurt anybody, but that takes that adrenaline out of your system. And it needs to go out in action. The fight response is an action response. You can exercise, you can go running in the park, you can grab a pillow and hit it, you can go to the gym and just box it off or kickbox it off or whatever you need to do that doesn't hurt anybody to get that adrenaline off your system. Because if it's not burnt, it will stay there. And then any trigger will trigger your anger again, and you may even become violent. That's where violence comes from. It's unresolved anger that's been pent up inside the body. And then one little trigger comes up and you go out, you explode like a volcano. So that's the problem with emotions. It's not having them. It's not resolving them and not expressing them as they are, but trying to repress them and keep them buried, because then they explode.
That's an excellent explanation. The impact of cumulative stress. And I love that analogy of the ocean, that visualization, and I think if our listeners can really think about that, the ocean waves, as you explained it, it shows us how we can really use nature to come back into balance, just even thinking about that scenario of the ocean that you mentioned.
Yeah, the wave crashing, and just let it come, let it crash, let yourself feel it. It's okay. It won't hurt you. You're feeling it anyways. Just be conscious of what you're feeling. Let it come, let it express however it needs to be expressed, and then it will recede on its own.
Yes.
That's the trick with negative emotions. And of course, do things that propitiate all the positive emotions, because the positive emotions have positive chemicals attached to them, like oxytocin, which is the chemical of love. That's the one that forms attachments and bonds, or dopamine, which is the happiness. Now, the happiness and the success hormone, and endorphins, which is the pleasure hormone. All of these are really good for your health, really good for your mind. So we have to do things that propitiate the positive, and with the negative ones, after they have been felt, named, and have crashed like the wave and then receded, we have to ask, why are we feeling this? What am I doing in my life that's not going according to plan? And I have to deal with that. So actually, in the course of emotions, I teach for every emotion, what are the questions you have to ask yourself and the different techniques to deal with that emotion. But I'll give you an example with stress, that everybody uses stress. There are 4 levels to stress. There's a physical stress, when all your muscles are tense. So you have to deal with that physically. You can either do a relaxation technique, you can do yoga, which is what a doctor would tell you if you're very stressed. They would say, go into mindfulness or yoga or meditation or whatever, because that gives you the chance to feel whatever you're feeling and to calm down again. But it really has to do, or there's a hack to it, which is the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve goes from the brainstem down, and it innervates the heart, the lungs, the stomach, and the kidneys, and some of the reproductive area. And it's the first nerve that goes all around the system. I think it develops at around 4 weeks in the mother's womb. So that nerve, which passes through the neck, can be hacked by, for example, a massage on the ears, on the earlobes, or all around the ear, and massaging around the ear, not on the earlobe, but down from the ear, all around. That gets the vagus nerve to relax. And that sends a signal to the parasympathetic nervous system to relax the body. So there are little hacks that you can do to deal with stress. So that's the physical side of stress, but there's also the emotional side of stress, that any stressor today reminds you of stressors when you were an infant, and you will react to the stressor today as you did when you were a child. So you have to go back and deal with the root cause of that stress and relax that child. And there are a lot of healing techniques for that, like self-hypnosis, like visualizations. There are a lot of things you can do to go into the unconscious mind and heal that child. But there's also the energy that's stored in the body that you have to get out of through movement. Stress leaves the body through movement, and your body knows what to do. So you can dance, you can jump, you can go to the gym, as I was saying earlier. You have to move that energy away from your body. You have to get it out of your system. And then, of course, there's a practical way to deal with stress, which is when something's stressing you, break it up into chewable parts and do little tasks and give yourself a prize after each little task. And that turns the whole project, which is driving you nuts from stress, into a series of little tasks that are enjoyable because you get a prize at the end. So you're changing the chemicals from cortisol and adrenaline, which are the stress hormones, into the dopamine and the endorphins, because you're giving yourself a little prize after each little thing you're doing. So that turns the whole thing into something pleasurable.
Those are excellent, strategies. And, as you talked about the levels of stress and what we can do. And I was thinking about the power of self-expression, dancing, writing, singing, painting. Well, you can perhaps resort to things that you enjoy, or as you indicated, to, the movement, things that we can do to get the stress out and even return to a joyful state, right?
Exactly. Because human beings are the only living beings, at least on this planet that we know of, that we can choose how we want to feel. Mm-hmm. And that is an ability that gives us, I think it's a superpower, because even if you're in the throes of anger and you're really, really hysterical after the wave has crashed, you can choose to go into a pleasant memory, into a pleasant activity, into something you enjoy, and change the whole anger into something else, into something joyful. Or you can use that anger, harness it, and do something useful with it. Mm. For example, I'm sure you've heard of this girl, Greta Thunberg, that was so angry about what was being done to Earth that she turned that anger into making a movement to help Earth.
Yes, beautiful story.
So you can harness that anger and do something about it. And humans are the only ones that can do this. We can choose how we want to feel.
That is wonderful. Well, Millie, and to our listeners, we're ready for another commercial break. So stay tuned for more on this fantastic show, How Emotions Impact Your Health, with Dr. Millie Diericx, energy therapist, alternative healing facilitator, hypnotherapist, founder of Consciousness and Evolution, author of The Concho Method. We'll return shortly. Stay tuned.
Dr. Jean Marie Farish is proud to announce the release of her new book, Living in the Spirit of Love, Our Natural State of Being, available now at Balboa Press. This book will help you master your life and flourish in love. You'll learn how to become a better and more evolved you. Feel good by making life-affirming choices. Deepen your feelings and expressions of love. Tune in love and sustain the change. And flourish in love and find your joy. Visit BalboaPress.com and search for Living in the Spirit of Love and enjoy Dr. Farish's new book today.
I'm Judy Satori. I'm a spiritual channel and activator of human potential. You might have heard me speaking on the Voice of America on Dr. Jean Farish's show, Love Light, because I've been speaking about the challenges that are besetting all of us right now and how we can surrender but also keep on going. I want to invite you to join my new Facebook group that is devoted to heart-centered connection and unity. Through this Facebook group, you can also join my free access question and answer session with Spirit on the first Wednesday to Thursday of every month. Just search Ascension Community on Facebook to join the group. In this session, I answer questions and transmit energy from Spirit to give you guidance and support. Because life on planet Earth ain't easy right now. And there is so much help from above, from beings of love and light, from multidimensional realities who are actually here with us, wanting to step up and support us. I welcome you to become part of our ongoing group conversation about evolutionary change and how it's affecting us as human beings and affecting our life today. Many blessings to you. You can find out more about me and my work at www.ascensionlibrary.org. Have a wonderful day.
Announcing Dr. Jean Marie Farish's new book, Love Mastery Devotion Journal, 21-day weekly prompts and affirmations. This is the companion piece to Dr. Farish's best-selling book, Living in the Spirit of Love, Our Natural State of Being. Through the new book, we invite you to cultivate a lifestyle of love through daily devotional practices over a 21-day period, following 9 ingredients in the recipe of love. Love Mastery Devotion Journal, 21-day weekly prompts and affirmations is available on Amazon.com and Balboa Press. Best-selling Authors International news honors best-selling authors around the globe. Dr. Jean Marie Farish is featured in the newly released issue of Published magazine. To have first access to this treasured resource, go to publishedmagazine.com.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You are tuned in to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. Feel free to connect with our program through email or check out our links on Facebook. Reach Jean at Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. That's Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. And now, back to Love Light.
Welcome back to Love Light, Living in the Spirit of Love. This is a fantastic, uplifting, and enlightening show today with Dr. Millie Diericx, energy therapist, alternative healing facilitator, hypnotherapist, founder of Consciousness and Evolution, author of the Concho Method. On our show today, how emotions impact your health. And Millie, in this segment, you have some outstanding strategies and tools to share with us and insights. So take it over.
Well, yes, I wanted to tell the audience the symptoms of stress because many people can relate to this. Anxiety, for example, is a symptom of stress. Panic attacks, high blood pressure, headaches, including the really bad ones, the migraines, stomach upset, muscle tension, back pain, and even things that can affect your life, because hypertension, of course, can affect the heart and can affect a lot of things. So we have to be careful with stress, and we have to be able to deal with stress. So it's very important that people know that stress is not the normal way of doing things. It's not the normal way to be. We can do different things. So what I'm going to do is do a little exercise, if that's good with you,
Yes.
to teach people how they can choose how to feel. Is that okay?
Sure, proceed.
Okay. So it's a self-hypnosis exercise. And what we're going to do is take a deep breath. Take 3 deep breaths. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth, making all the tension go. Feel the tension in your muscles, in your back, and exhale and relax. And then continue to breathe deeply and think about a situation in which you have felt stress. Think about it and let yourself feel that emotion. And be aware of what muscles get tense, where on your body you can feel it. Really come to know your stress. If your shoulders hunch, if there's a pain somewhere in your body, if it had a texture or a color, what would it be? If it had a smell or a taste. Let yourself feel that stress. And name that stress. What is stressing you? What is the real fear behind that stress? Is it rejection? Is it not being enough? Is it not being loved? What's the real fear? Be very conscious of how this feels. And then ask your unconscious mind for a symbol, an image, a color that symbolizes this stress, this fear, prolonged in time. And whatever comes is perfect. It can be a color, it can be an image, it can be a cartoon character. It's fine. Just observe that symbol before you. Floating in front of you. Just leave it there for a moment. And now you can choose a positive emotion that you would like to feel right now instead of the stress. And go to a memory of a time when you felt this positive emotion. It doesn't have to be something extraordinary. It can be just a little moment when you were watching a movie that you really like, or baking cookies for your kids, or laughing at a joke with your friends. A moment where you clearly felt the emotion you want to feel. And let yourself feel that emotion. Feel it clearly in your body. And also look for a texture or a color, or a taste, or a sound, or an image. And the feeling in your body. Does it tingle? Does it feel like bubbles? What does it feel like? And name that emotion. Is it joy? Is it love? Is it fun? Name it. Be very conscious of it. Then ask your unconscious mind for a symbol or an image that represents this joyful, beautiful emotion. And also observe this symbol in front of you, next to the negative one. Watch them both. And then with your breath, every time you inhale, the positive symbol will become larger and more luminous and more defined. With every exhale, the negative symbol will become smaller, maybe darker, or out of focus, grayer, and smaller. Continue inhaling life and energy into the positive symbol, exhaling and making the negative one smaller, farther away. And continue with this breathing exercise until all you can see is the positive symbol in front of you. And then take a deep breath in and bring that positive symbol and install it in your heart. And let it grow from your heart and go through all your body. With an equally strong exhale, let the negative symbol dissolve, disappear, go away. And come back to yourself and enjoy feeling this beautiful, positive feeling in all its strength. And imagine it going into every single one of your cells, so that all these beautiful living beings that live only for you can enjoy this moment with you. Just rest there for a moment, enjoying being, letting all these positive chemicals, the endorphins or the oxytocin or the dopamine, go into every single one of your cells and enjoy. And that is one of the ways you can change one feeling for another and choose how you want to feel. But of course, this has to be done not in the moment that the wave is crashing, but after you have let it recede and you have come back to your senses. And then you can choose and do an exercise like this to be able to go there.
Millie, I love this exercise, helping us to really identify our feelings, express it, put a symbol to it. And for me, I thought about this ancient symbol of love that I adopt. And, this is so refreshing. And as you indicated, we have the power to choose.
Yes, we do. And we have the power to choose ourselves and our health too, which is what I teach in my courses. The signature course that you mentioned at the beginning is Healing from Within, which is all the steps that I took to feel better, to find the root cause of the problem and change there's a lot of exercises. This is just one, to be able to change that resonance and that feeling from the little child, from the root cause, into the positive one so that we can feel better. And then there's the other one, which is the emotions, the course on emotions, that deals with each emotion and the strategies to deal with them, because we haven't been taught this. What we're taught is like, oh, you're angry, go to your room, or stop crying.
Yes.
And that's all we're told. We're never told to live our emotions and to deal with them appropriately.
Millie, this is so comprehensive. How can listeners access your books and your services, workshops,
through
whatever.
my webpage.
Mhm.
My webpage, all the information about the courses and the books and everything, it's www.conscio, which is spelled KONSCIO.mx. And in that webpage, they can find out about the courses and the books and about me and everything else.
And your documentary, Facing Fear, can you just share a bit about that? And
Yeah, you can also download the Facing Fear documentary if you would like to watch it. And it's Bill Bennett, and it's paid for online, and it's facingfear.com. Very easy.
This is so powerful. Millie, maybe share one or two stories of how your someone who's attended your workshops or been involved with you, how it changed their life before we close out.
Well, I do have a couple of stories from the last course I gave, which I just finished. I just finished the whole series for the first time in English, by the way. The first groups I had of healing from within and the emotions, and they sort of followed me along, and it's really impressive. I have one she's a young girl, and when she met me, she decided that she wanted to study this. And I find that so inspiring that I could inspire a young mind to help people in these kind of ways. And she has finished her career now. She's looking for a job now. I wish her all the luck in the world.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And also another woman who's having trouble in her marriage and going through a horrible process of deciding to leave the marriage. And she was in a very depressed state. And after the courses, she started seeing light at the end of the tunnel and started enjoying her life again and finding purpose to it. Because her only purpose was surviving this very strong situation she's in her marriage that she can't leave immediately because of money issues. But she has started to enjoy life and the little pleasures of life again, even though she's still stuck in that situation that she's preparing to leave, but she can't right now. But still, even if you're in the middle of the storm, you can enjoy life and you can have purpose in life. And I find that very inspiring that she could change that point of view and she could start living again, even though she's still in the middle of the situation that she has a year in the planning to leave. So I find that really inspiring that you can be in the middle of a storm, as Viktor Frankl used to say. He was in the concentration camp. Right. He used to say that even in the direst of situations, if you find a purpose and you find some joy in life, life is worthwhile.
Wow. Those are beautiful testimonials and stories. We have had an amazing show today, so uplifting, educational, and empowering. We invite listeners to tune in again, really listen to Dr. Millie's explanation about these emotions and how we can choose to live and love again. And please share our show with others and connect with Dr. Millie to learn more. I am grateful to you, Dr. Millie, for this outstanding show and for our listeners who are tuning in. And this is Dr. Jean Marie, your Love Light host. And until we meet again, remember, an empowered self is a loving self. And keep your love light shining. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to Love Light this week. Be sure to join Dr. Jean Marie Farish again for another program next Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and noon Eastern Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Have a wonderful week filled with love, self-worth, and better connections.